You've probably heard it a million times. Hitting your first crore is a life-changing milestone. But you know what? It's not really about the number itself. Reaching that first 1 crore mark fundamentally changes the entire game of building wealth. So today, let's pull back the curtain and look at a realistic roadmap to get there.
Okay, let's dive right in with a simple question. Imagine you've got 10 lakh rupees to invest as a lump sum. You put it in the market and it earns, let's say, a 12% return every year, which, by the way, is pretty close to the long-term average for the Nifty 50. So how many years do you think it would take for that 10 lakh to grow into 1 crore? Go on, take a guess.
The answer? 21 years. Now, I can almost hear what you're thinking. 21 years? That's so long. A crore won't even be worth that much by then. And look, those are totally fair reactions. But just hold that thought for a second, because this is where things get really, really interesting. So that first crore was a grind. It took 21 long years. Now, how long do you think it takes to get to the second crore? Another 21 years? Let's see.
It takes just 6 more years. 6! That's it. From 1 crore to 2 crores in only 6 years without you doing anything differently. Now, this isn't some kind of financial magic. This is the raw, incredible power of compounding at work.
And that's the key takeaway here. The first crore is, by a huge margin, the hardest and the longest part of the journey. But once you get there, a kind of flywheel effect kicks in. Your money starts doing the heavy lifting for you, and the growth just accelerates like a snowball rolling down a hill.
This timeline just puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? That initial 21-year slog is what unlocks this incredible speed up. The next crore takes just 6 years, and the one after that, only 3 more. You can see the pattern, right? The time it takes to add another crore just keeps getting shorter and shorter.
Now, you might be sitting there thinking, that's great, but I don't have 10 lakh rupees just lying around. And that's a perfectly valid point. But the good news is, this principle works the exact same way for your monthly investments, your SIPs. A monthly SIP of just 10,000 rupees at that same 12% will get you to 1 crore in about 20 years. And guess what? It'll get you to 2 crores just 6 years after that. This isn't a strategy just for the rich. It's accessible to literally everyone.
Okay, so we've established that compounding is basically our superpower, but for it to work its magic, we need to give it the right fuel. And that brings us to the single most important variable in this whole equation, your rate of return.
To really drive home how critical the rate of return is, just look at this comparison. At a 12% market return, you hit your goal in 21 years. But if you play it safe with a fixed deposit earning 6%, that same journey takes a staggering 40 years. We're talking almost double the time. This shows you, in black and white, why those traditional low-return investments just aren't built for this kind of ambitious wealth creation.
So why do we keep using this 12% figure? Well, it's not just a random number. If you look at the historical returns of the Nifty 50, that's an index of India's top 50 companies, it averages out to right around 12% per year over the long term. We're talking about predictable blue-chip companies, so it's considered a realistic and fairly stable benchmark for long-term investing.
This table right here makes the goal feel incredibly real. It's a simple trade-off between time and money. If you want to get there in a hurry, say 10 years, you'll need to put away a pretty significant amount each month. But look what happens if you stretch your timeline to 25 years. The monthly investment you need drops dramatically. This is all the proof you need that for most of us, time is our most powerful asset.
And this brings us to the biggest mistake, the biggest trap that people fall into. They look at a table like that and they get impatient. They start thinking they can somehow hack the system and find a shortcut.
This quote absolutely nails that flawed logic. People think, since I can't put in more money, I'll just find an investment that gives me double the returns. They try to change the rate of return variable instead of the time or the investment amount, and that, my friends, is where the danger lies.
Let's be crystal clear about this. There is no investment on Earth that can predictably deliver 25% returns year after year without taking on massive, massive risk. When people chase these kinds of fantasy numbers, they end up in highly speculative assets, or even worse, those get-rich-quick schemes. The potential reward is completely dwarfed by the very real risk of losing every single rupee you've worked for.
So if shortcuts are a terrible idea, what's the right way forward? Let's lay out a clear, actionable blueprint that actually works in the real world.
It all comes down to these 3 pillars. First, you have to be patient. As we've seen, the first crore is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't try to rush it. Second, focus on what you can actually control. growing your income. Improve your skills, work on your career, and increase your capacity to invest more. And third, and this is the big one, invest with discipline. Make it a non-negotiable habit.
So what might a practical portfolio look like? Well, here's a common starting point. About 50% goes into a stable Nifty 50 index fund, which just tracks India's biggest companies. Another 30% goes to a mid- or flexi-cap fund, which invests in medium-sized companies that have more room to grow. And finally, about 20% is allocated to a small-cap fund. Now, these are smaller, younger companies, so they carry more risk, but they also have the potential for much higher returns. This mix gives you a really nice balance of stability and growth potential.
This quote right here, this captures the single most important mindset shift you can possibly make. Most people spend their money first and then save whatever is left over at the end of the month. The wealthy do the complete opposite. They invest first, right when their salary hits the bank. Ideally, they automate it with an SIP. Then they run their household on whatever remains. This is the pay yourself first principle, and it is the absolute core of the crorepati mindset.
So there you have it. The math is clear, the path is simple, and the mindset is everything. The journey to your first crore isn't about finding some magic bullet. It's about patience, discipline, and the unstoppable power of compounding. You now have the roadmap. The only question that remains is this: what will be your first step tomorrow?